Right folks, welcome to the first part of the hyperspace pod build. Now, I've already spoken about this in a previous video, so if you want to sort of hear about what we're doing and what some of the kits that are involved, then go to the previous video. You'll see it in the selection there. What we've done so far, so 5 of these will be joined together to make one, or to make the main body of the pod that makes one ship. We've joined 2 together, still getting the rest of them to go together. So what I've done here is I've secured them together using a bit of plastic weld. This stuff is nuts. I mean, I really like the Tamiya stuff, but this is just next level. You go too nuts with this stuff, and you start melting the plastic. Like, I mean, proper warping it. It's crazy. And you need to keep lidding it as well, because it evaporates super quick. So anyway, what I've done is we've secured this together. It's got a really nice bite on it. It doesn't take long to set, and once it's set, it's, you know, it's a good bond. Just for extra security though, because it's just a very thin piece of two thin pieces of plastic in contact with each other. So as strong as this glue is, or this plastic weld is, I wanted to add a wee bit more security. So I just got a couple of pieces of plastic sprue, just spare sprue off models, and snipped them off, and then just stuck them in there, welded them in, and that just sits neatly in that little groove. I don't know how well you can see that. Just in there. Let me just shed a bit more light on this. It's probably a bit better. And then just this little groove just in here, just in there, all runs all the way down. And so we've just put some plastic sprue in there. It's just extra styrene, just to bond that together and just hold that, and then we're going to have that all the way around. What I'm doing right now is it's just 1/2 mil styrene, and we're cutting out little squares. So it's just a little 37 by 37 square, and what will happen is that will get bonded in here. Actually, we'll need to take a wee trim off the corner so it fits in properly. That'll sit in there like so, and that allows us to then stick our little plastoc domes on, because these fit perfectly into that little space there, but they've got nothing to adhere to, so we'll stick in a little bit of styrene. That gets bonded in there nicely. I'll just need to trim off some corners there just so it fits, and then hey presto. Actually, I'm saying 37 by 37. That should just cover it and no more. Actually, maybe make them slightly longer in the next cut. And then that'll just allow that to be secured in there, and then we're starting to get something that looks less like a German armoured vehicle and something that looks as though it would carry old droids across the far reaches of space looking for rebels. Anyway, that's where we're at now. So what we'll do is we'll get these bits all secured together, and then we'll move on to the next stage. Right folks, let's talk about where we are now. So what we've got here is the 2 sections have been bonded. I've done that twice, so we've now got four of the 5 pieces together. The final kit just arrived yesterday, so I've got that off the sprues, cleaned up, ready to go. Different colour, exact same kit, although it is one of the older versions, and it's in an older box, but the tool and the casting is exactly the same, so there's no change there other than the colour. I'm going to keep this bit as the last piece to go in separate, because actually what I need to do is also include a little piece for the armature, but we'll look at that further further into the build. So this is going to be effectively the bottom of the escape pod, and there's going to be a little piece of brass rod going up in here, and that's how we're going to affix it to the base. But as I say, we'll discuss and look at that in greater detail just shortly. So just to note here, what we've done is we've got the little bits of 1/2 mil styrene in place. I think it was in Brett Chambers' build. What he'd done is he'd used some styrene rod. So this is just cut off bits of styrene sprue, and all I've done is I've welded it into the little groove. It's just to add an extra bit of support. Does it really need it? Probably not. That EMA plastic weld stuff is bomb-proof anyway, I think. So I think it would take a bit of force to actually break it off. But me being me, I just like a wee bit of belts and braces. So once you get to this stage, you get your styrene on there. You then can get these bits, these plastruck domes secured into place. So we've done that, and what I've actually started to do now is also add some of the detailing. Plastruck domes. These two bars here are from the Mauser Carroll, so they sit neatly one either side on each of the angles here. This here is also a part of the 8 rad kit. And then what we've got here is, this part here is from the flat gun. The little bit there is Mauser Carroll. You've got your plastruck lampshade and then another Mauser Carroll piece in here. These spaces here we're deliberately leaving open just now, and the reasons for that will become clear, but there is a little vent, a little covering that's going to go on there just shortly. So I'm not going to detail the whole thing until it's built, but I just wanted to put these bits on just to show people exactly where they go, and that's in line with the reference material that I've got here. You'll see exactly what we mean there. And this, I'll put this up on the video. You can see it a bit closer, but also if anybody needs a copy of this, it can be easily found online, or you can PM me and I'll send you it. It's just a standard photograph, and it just points out where all the parts are. It's a little parts map, and it's colour coded, so it's ideal. Anyway, champion, that's where we're at just now. And we'll crack on. Right, so where we're at now, both of these sections, or all 4 of these sections should I say, have all been joined together. If you remember right, we had them in 2 groups of 2, and we've now bonded them. I had a little mishap here with some of this EMA plastic weld stuff. I'd managed to spill a wee bit here and left a lovely big fingerprint, so if I had to sand that back, a wee bit of filler in there as well just to fix another wee gap. It's just a blunder on my part, because obviously the plastic goes soft. I left a lovely big fingerprint while I was holding this to blend it, so it wasn't really a very good look for a Star Wars model. So I'm now working on the little recessed section here. So there's a piece of flat styrene and stuff here on here. However, we've got a little recess which is roughly the depth of this greebly here, which, what did I work that out as in my, very precise, 4.27mm, but we don't need to be that precise. And all I've done then is I've ran my calipers up here and created a little score in the card, drew a pencil line down, and we'll score and snap. But just before we do that, something you need to know about these greeblies. So this is part of the flak, if you can, how well you can see that or not, but that's part of the flak kit. This little section here is filled in. We need to remove that like so, so it looks like a little tube. That's a bit rough, it'll need a wee bit of tidying, but we'll come to that in a wee minute. So you just go through each of these with a little file. I'm just using this little modelling file, and just get rid of that styrene that's in the centre there. And these go around the engine bell on the inside here. But as I said to you, this part here is recessed, so we've got a little piece of card, plastic card styrene, going all the way around here, and then some more plastic card that's stuck in the bottom there, and that's where you secure the F1 parts to from the Lotus kit. That's the 112 scale, remember, not the 120. Very important to keep emphasising that. Final part, as you notice here, I've made a little carrier receiver type thing for the brass rod. It's eventually going to be the stand for the model. That's going into a nice piece of 10mm black acrylic that'll be secured in place with some glue, and effectively what happens is this goes in here, and just using friction, it only goes in maybe 5-6mm, it doesn't go in very far. You can just push that in there and that's nice and snug. It'll hold it in place and that'll sit then on your display base. Anyway, so that is a 7mm piece of brass. It's a 0.5mm wall, so in theory there should be 6mm in the centre. That's a 6mm rod. It's a very, very tight squeeze. So what I had to do is, once I cut off my little piece of brass, I put it into my drill, just my little hand drill, one of these guys here, secured it in the chuck, and used a round file and just put it inside and just remove some of the material from the inner wall. Then put some wet and dry paper round about the inside, round about the round file, and put it back inside, smooth that off a wee bit, and then we've got a nice receiver part here. It's gummed up a wee bit just now with some Tamiya putty. That's just to smooth off the lines and just cover up any wee gaps and stuff there, and we'll clean that up with a piece of sandpaper before we prime it. So that's just setting just now, and that's just been glued in place with a bit of super glue, and then I just added a wee bit extra security there with some Tamiya cement. Probably a bit overkill, but then again, I'm very much a belts and braces kind of guy. I know that looks very, very neat, very, very untidy, not very neat, but we're not looking for, a precision piece of engineering here. We're just looking for a wee layer of styrene just to create a little block plastic that we can secure onto the model, and that then acts as a receiver, as a holder for that, and holds that in place. Okie dokie. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you just cutting styrene. So this is 0.5mm thick, just standard white plastic card styrene. So with my little caliper here, there's a nice wee sharp point on there, and I literally just run it right up there, get a nice straight line at the depth I'm looking for, marked it off with pencil so I could see it, and I've just put a nice new fresh blade on my scalpel here, and we just line this up nicely, nice and neat. Bear with me. Holding our rule in place nice and firmly. Just make sure that's neat. That looks about right. And what we're just want to do is just keep your scalpel onto the edge of your rule and just very lightly draw it down. Just a light score, and then we go back and do it again. And we keep doing that a couple of times. And then we're maybe not necessarily cut all the way through, but a little bend in the styrene there, you'll see. Ta-da! And that just comes away and it'll snap very easily. Very easily, he says. There we go. And we've now got a little piece of styrene. It's a wee bit skew off at the end there, my blade must have wandered slightly. And then we're looking to just make a little wall round each part here. And that'll also, once this is in place, there'll also be one there, and then we can get a nice wee bit of styrene on the inside there, and then secure that in place, and that gives us our bottom section. We'll come on to the grills and stuff just shortly, and I'll just get these bits all stuck in place. See you in a second. Right, so we're at the next stage. What have we done so far? So we've now got the entire ship, all 5 sections secured in place. I've added another couple of those. I don't know how well you can see that in there. Alright, you can see that. So we've added those styrene rods just in these sections here, just to add that wee bit of strength and support. Again, belts and braces. Still got 2 wee bits to add in here and here, just at this parts here. We'll stick them in just shortly. But I'll give that a wee smooth off. I know you can see some of the brass and some of it's actually covered, but again, that will be covered in primer and then paint and stuff, so we're not going to see any of that. And more importantly, this recessed area. So stuck these in place, and then I just did a little pentagon shape, cut it, and then we've just secured that in place as well with a bit of the old plastic weld. So the next thing I think we want to be doing, well, I'm going to get these little greeblies, these little bits all filed out. That'll take a wee bit of time. It's fairly soft, so it doesn't take too long, but it just takes a wee bit of footing about, but we'll get there. So far, this build has been thoroughly enjoyable. It's been so much fun. It's unbelievable. Just taking an assortment of kits and putting them together to make something completely different. That's actually that you can't buy in a model kit. You know, as far as I'm aware anyway, there's never been a hyperspace pod model kit ever been produced, apart from just buying all the separate military model kits and putting it together yourself with a couple of plaster parts and a little bit of scratch building. We need to cut out another piece of styrene for here, just to cap that off, and then of course we have the T34 wheel with a little piece of the Morse Carol wheel stuck in the inside, and then that goes on the top there. But you know, we'll cover that, we'll talk about that in more detail once we get to it. So next thing we need to do is get these wee vented sections on that come with the rest of the 8 rad. So yeah, that's next. So now's probably a good time to jump in and just point this out to you. So these are the little vented doors that fit on the bottom end of the pod here. Now, the actual kit parts, when you cut them off the sprue, come with these little hinges. Excuse me. These little hinges here, these need to be snipped off because they're not on the reference material. So we want to get rid of them. Quick snip off, and then I rub down with a sanding stick, sorts that out. You end up with a wee bit left over, but it's fine. Just get your sander into it and just get a wee rub. And then just peel the wee bits away. It's fine. And then we'll glue these in place. So these have got a nice wee groove on them. And now, so this little V-shaped part with the circle in the middle matches up with this little part here. Clips on there like so. And then we just run round with a bit of the plastic weld. So just so you know, when it comes to the bottom part of this, there we go. Those little hinges come off. These parts there. Alright, it. Right, so basically the bottom half, or the bottom 2/3 really, of the pod are now complete. I've went round We've got all these parts on, all the for the 8-rad. We've got all the parts on from the Mauser Carol. The green plastic parts with the Mauser Carol greeblies in the centre. These little greeblies out of the flat kit. They've all been done, they're all in place. And of course, we have got the Lotus Mark III Lotus wheels glued together and in place. Effectively, we've got the rear wheel, the front wheel, and I think it's the inner, well, it's the inner rim from the outer rim, should I say. No, the inner rim, I was right the first time. Not the side that you would sort of see, it would be to the inside of the car, of the wheel, the rear wheel as well. And these are glued together in a series, so I've got rear, front, rear. And that makes up the engine bell. These little support struts here, those are from the flat kit. They're all in place. These little greeblies here, again, also from the flat kit. You get quite a few of them in each kit, so there's plenty to go around. There's also one stuck on each part of the 8-rad, right just right in the centre there. And then of course we need to draw around this, use this line here as a reference guide. Just some more plastic card for to seal off the top, and of course T34 wheel goes on there. And that effectively will be the model complete, be ready for primer. Very, very quick build, but also a very, very enjoyable build. Now, just very briefly before we move on, I just want to talk about this little greebly here. Basically, this is two greeblies, or two kit parts from the flat kit. So this first one here, this longer part here, is it's like a tow bar. There's a little loop in the end, and I believe this little round section with the cross in the middle going through the centre of it, I think is possibly a little support foot for the gun once it's all built. Just to kind of like stabilise it or whatever, and basically that little nodule goes down through the centre of the hole, and a wee bit of Tamiya extra thin on there just to secure it. And there's 5 of these, so you only get one of these little things, these little tow bar hooks in the kit, but you get loads of these, and that's again one of the reasons why we need 5. And these end up going in place in here, or here, all the way around the outside of the ship. But again, that's once we've got the plastic card cut out, so that's probably going to be the next thing to do, is just draw around that, cut that out, get that secured in place. We'll be ready for primer. So just before we secure the end cap in place, I just wanted to point out what I was doing. So here we've got a couple of wee bits of spare sprue. Again, just coming back to that whole belt and braces thing, you've really just got quite a thin edge here. You've literally got this edge here for your sort of plate on the top to weld onto. Now, I'm sure it would be fine, but nothing wrong with having just that wee extra bit. So I'll just cut off some sprues, and I'll just place them in a way that when the styrene sits on the top, there's just an extra wee bit there just to take a bit more styrene cement and just support it. And what we've done is we've cut out our styrene Pentagon. And then what I've used is just a wee sanding stick just to curve the edges around a wee bit so that they're not sharp and pointy. Just smooth things off a wee bit. You're not really going to see that because, as I said to you before, we're going to have these little greeblies in place. So I think I actually might need to snip this wee bit off the end here, just based on where it's going to be positioned. But if we have to do that, I will. But if it's not, then I mean, it's not immediately obvious from the reference image that I've got, but you know, I'll play it by ear. Anyway, moving on. And so we have come to the end of the build. I have completely and utterly enjoyed every second of this project. It has been just so much fun to take all these kit parts, seemingly unconnected kit parts for all these different models, and then just put them together to make something that's recognisable, or at least certainly is to a lot of the fans of Star Wars. It's just mind blowing. As a kid, I always looked at the Star Wars movies and loved the models and just wondered how they built them, and I'm now getting to explore that and walk in the footsteps, or at least a wee bit, of the guys from Industrial Light and Magic. It's just been such a great experience, and this whole thing would not have been possible if it was not for the guys on the Nerf Herders Workshop page. And not even just those guys, but even the guys who were in the studio scale modelling hobby way before that, you know, way back years and years ago, with the people who started looking at all these reference images and starting to identify, oh, that's from that kit, that's from that kit, blah blah blah. It's just been so good to be able to take all that collective knowledge that's been collated over the years and put it into practice to actually build something. And in particular in the Nerf Herders Workshop, you've got the admin team. You've got Chris Benware, who started the whole group up. You've got John Simmons, absolute extraordinary painter, very knowledgeable about building and modelling and stuff. And my friend Ollie Barrett, he's been such a big inspiration and a big help, providing me with some of his own experiences and sort of pictures of where particular parts go. I think one of the big things that Ollie helped me out with, and I did actually film a wee bit for this, but I think I accidentally deleted it, and I'm just going to point it out just now. This greebling that you can see here, this is for the flak kit, this round piece, and it's got a little, it looks like a little fork or prong. That was actually, the centre of that has to be cut out. It's just quite thin, so you can actually go in there and snip it out, get a wee file down, and that's what you need to do for that greebling. So just so you know. So he really helped me out with that. A few other bits and pieces, including providing this lovely engine bell. Yeah, who else? Brett Chambers. Brett's been a wonderful inspiration overall for his modelling and his building. His reference work and his own journey that he recorded on the RPF, the Replica prop forum, has been no end of help as well. It really has. Spencer West, I apologise if I've missed any of you out here. Let's just talk about the last stage of the build. So where we were at before was we had just cut this out. I ended up not using that piece because it was just not the right size. It was just too big, and it wasn't cut quite at the right angles and stuff. And I faffed about with a couple of different options for cutting this piece out, and it just never seemed to work. I just couldn't quite get it neat enough. And what I ended up doing in the end was putting a piece of paper over it and then just running my finger along just to mark each of the lines. You can't see them now, but each of the lines at the tip of this point here, to lay out the pentagon shape. And I then cut that piece of paper out as a template, and I was able to then transfer that over to the styrene card, cut out my template, my pentagon, and it fits. It's not, if you look at it with the eye really close, there are slight discrepancies in it, but you know what, when you look up close at some of ILM's models, there's more than some slight discrepancies. A lot of these models were built in such a quick turnaround, they were built so fast because they had a really short deadline. They had a production that they had to get underway, and these models had to be ready sharpish, you know, pronto. So, you know, it's kind of keeping in that style, isn't it? A bit haphazard here and there. But yeah, overall, I'm very, very pleased with how this has turned out. These little parts here, if you remember earlier on in the video, we spoke about do we or don't we snip the ends off them, and I ended up doing it. Now, I'm not 100% sure that's right. I'm also not 100% sure that's wrong. I'm quite sure somebody out there will know somewhere. Maybe one of the absolute masters like Jason Eaton or somebody might be able to shed a bit of light on it. However, that's what I've done with this kit. And again, I think sometimes you just have to just be content with what you've done, and it's safe to say I'm absolutely content with this. We've got it on the base. The base still needs all the edges cleaned up. That's a bit rough looking because I had to slice it with my bandsaw. And you need to be careful when you're cutting acrylic, because if you use something too coarse, then you just chip and crack the acrylic. Equally so, you also have to watch out for melting the actual acrylic itself as well if you're using a power tool, because obviously the rotational speed, you know, bandsaw blades and whatever, you know, they're metal, they go fast, they turn at a high rate, causes friction causes heat melts plastic, you know. I'm not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination or anything like that, but I'm not that daft that I don't understand that. So, you know, you just need to apply a wee bit of skill when you're doing that. Anyway, so the base just needs a polish up. We'll get the film off it, get a couple of wee silicone feet on the bottom, wee rubber feet, whatever they are. Polish up the brass rod. These brass rods polish up beautifully with a wee bit of metal polish and a cloth. You get a lovely nice shine off them, which I particularly like. It's my bases have been in development for a wee while, you know, or maybe not development, but they've evolved. That's probably more accurate. I've evolved my museum style bases, and I'm at a point now where I'm really happy. I know a lot of the guys use these movable mounts and stuff from Amazon, kind of like camera type mounts, and they're absolutely smart as well. They're really cracking, and they're pretty good for holding up some of the bigger models. Me personally, for this, I wanted something a bit more discreet, and I really like the brass rod finish. It won't rust over time, and it can be polished up again. I'm going to get a couple of nice plaques made up for here as well. I'll head on over to Nerd's Loot and get Carol to rattle up some nice plaques for on this base, just so it sets it right off and gives it that complete museum look. Next stage, we're going to get the primer on. I think what I'm going to do, just pointing this out here, I'm going to get a wee bit of latex on here, here and there, because we've still got some of the chrome here that I want to show through. So I'll put a couple of wee bits of latex on here and there before I put the primer on, so that when I do eventually paint it, I'll peel that back and we'll get a few wee flashes of the silver underneath. I'm not 100% sure if that was done in the production model. I've heard the bit sort of mixed reviews about, you know, it wasn't done, but I think that's what I'm going to do with this anyway, and it'll just give it a wee metallic look. But for the most part, the bottom end of the hot end certainly is pretty much black and sooty from whatever fuel it's been burning and rocketing away. So anyway, right, so enough jibber jabber. The next video will be, don't know when it'll be actually, it will be fairly soon. I want to wrap up a couple of projects over the coming weeks. The tank, not the pod racer, because I've got a couple of bits I need to pick up for that. That's going to be a sort of longer term build, but we will do more videos on that. We'll come back to that. Probably the next video will be either this being painted or the tank finished off. I'm not quite decided how that's going to be. I've also got a nice video series coming up soon. It's another kit build, and it's a kit I have been absolutely dying to get my hands on for a wee while now, and thankfully a loyal customer has approached me to build and paint this particular kit, and so I was absolutely ecstatic and jumped at the chance to do this build. So that'll be coming up very soon as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that. There's a few projects in the pipeline. That's the only sort of smaller kit one at the moment, is this next one that's coming up. A couple of bigger projects like this, maybe some other sort of studio scale type stuff will be crossing the bench over the coming months. So again, keep your eyes peeled, and if you're interested, have a wee look. Anyway, listen, thanks for sticking about. This video's went on more than long enough. Take care now. Catch you later. Cheerio now. Cheers.